They'll try to get you to change your vote and vote for one politician versus another. They'll try to get you to hate somebody if they hate him. They'll try to get you to speak Lashon Hara about all types of people that you don't even know. They'll try to get you to, read up on the most recent gossip of what's happening somewhere in the world. They'll try to get you to think that you can somehow solve the problem with anti-Semitism by resharing one of their new posters that says never again. They try all types of things to appeal, to make you feel Jewish, even if you're not doing anything that's actually Jewish in your day-to-day life.
As Rabbi and Reuven, I raise my voice. I'm Israel, you must make a choice. These false speakers, they lead you astray. The sweet words that cause souls to decay. Rambam has warned, the danger is real, their lies are poison. Their charm concealing halachot tshuva. It's clear to see, a heretic's path makes TeShuvah a plea. Stay away from their tempting lies. Their 5-minute words bring souls' demise. Their mystical tales, their magical ways lead you astray in a spiritual haze. Guard your soul, don't let it fall. Their empty promises can't save you at all. Turn to the Torah, the truth you must find, or their deceit will corrupt your mind. Guard your soul, be strong, be wise. Don't be fooled by their false disguise. Listen to truth, let it guide your way. Let authentic Torah light up your day. They talk of angels and scholos for wealth, but what they sell is the death of your health. Spiritually blind, they lead you to sin, taking your heart, your faith where within. Sefer Hasidim from days long gone warns of these prophets who lead you wrong. Popularity's not the sign of the truth. It's Torah, not fame, that will bear the proof. They feed you lies, they twist the word. It's not Hashem's voice, it's falsehood you've heard. Protect your neshama, don't let it stray. Their heresy leads to a dangerous way. Guard your soul, don't let it fall. Their empty promises can't save you at all. Turn to the Torah, the truth you must find, or their deceit will corrupt your mind. Guard your soul, be strong, be wise. Don't be fooled by their false disguise. Listen to truth, let it guide your way. Let authentic Torah light up your day. Rabbi Frame taught me to stand up tall, to warn in Israel before they fall. Not for the fame or to stir up a fight, but to bring the people back to the light. Stick to Masorah where truth will thrive. In the words of our sages, your soul will survive. TeShuvah's the path, fear of heaven our guide. Let's walk together with Hashem at our side. Guard your soul, don't let it fall. Their empty promises can't save you at all. Turn to the Torah, the truth you must find, or their deceit will corrupt your mind. Guard your soul, be strong, be wise. Don't be fooled by their false disguise. Listen to truth, let it guide your way. Let authentic Torah light up your day. May Hashem protect us from these lies and guide us with Torah clear in our eyes. May we merit the truth, the wisdom of flame, to honor His name and never feel shame. Guard your soul, I'm Israel, stand firm and tall, for Hashem's truth is the greatest call.
B'Shem Hashem na'aseh v'natzliach, Shiur Torah, Baruch Hashem. We're back here on our Tuesday night War of Amalek series, learning from Rav Elchonon Wasserman, alav shalom, where each and every single time we learn this, we see how much His holy words were literally like a prophecy for what we're living into today, in our communities today, in our world today, in our situation today. The war of Amalek is as real as ever, and BeEzrat HaShem, these instructions will help us fight it. Tonight's shiur is going to be for the refuah shlema and hatzlacha rabba for Ephraim ben Shulamit, Rabbanit Sarah bat Anat, Rabbanit Levana bat Sarah, Sarah bat Levana, Avi Mori David ben Esriya, Imi Morati Doris bat Jora, and all of Am Yisrael and all the righteous Noahis that continue to watch and learn with us and support the organization. Anyone that wants to support the food distribution and also heaters and all types of clothing that we're giving to the poor in Israel during this Hanukkah can support by going to the website bhchesed.org, bhchesed.org, or you could just see the link on the bottom, and you could donate over there. Anyone that wants to donate cryptocurrency, whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum or any of the other ones that are out there, you could do that on our regular website, BeEzrat And of course, anyone that subscribes as a paid subscriber to the Rabbi app, which is literally changing people's lives from all over the world, whether it's Russia, Germany, Australia, the United States, Israel, the people that are using it are absolutely loving it. They're sending me comments about it on a daily basis. And just to literally encourage you guys to do it, I'm giving you free stuff. And we've sent out a bunch of these tumblers to people. So it's not only they get the gift of the Rabbi, but they get one of these cool things, which by itself is $15. So that's something that we're sending out. So anyone that subscribes this week, we'll send them a free tumbler. It's not going to be an offer forever. We can't afford to do it forever, but nonetheless, we're trying to help you guys make the decision to try it out. You try it out, you see what it is, and then you decide what you want to do with it after. So with that being said, Rabotai, we have, Baruch Hashem, an enormous amount of Torah and to understand, to learn, to apply. And after Rav Elchonon Wasserman has taken us through 12.5 shiurim in this series, where for the first 17 lectures of this series, we've learned the clear guidance to the war of Amalek. But now, Rav Elchonon Wasserman is entering a new door. The war against everyone is doing it mentality. What is this everyone is doing it mentality? We start off by identifying some problems within the Jewish magazine industry that have become so widespread, people forgot that it's even a problem. We're also going to touch on Satan's new Kiruv strategy that fools people to believe that psychedelic drugs are actually a cure to their spiritual problems, or any problem for that matter. We're also going to go into a couple of life-changing stories, real stories that when you hear them, if you don't have goosebumps, you should check your pulse. So a lot is on the table, and Rav Elchonon Wasserman literally wrote this over 80 years ago. And you're going to see how his words, alongside some of the sages like the Ramchal, the Gemara, and others, are literally the words of the living God. So Rav Elchonon Wasserman is, in essence, starting a new segment, opening a new door after giving us instructions that there is a war of Amalek. You have to be motivated to fight it if you want to win. Uniting the righteous people is a absolute must if we want to have strength during this war. And the reason why we're losing is because we're not uniting. Everyone, the Satan is fooling everyone to going their different ways. But nonetheless, there are some people that are not exactly people you want to unite with because they're wicked. So it's not uniting everyone, but uniting the ones that Rav Elchonon Wasserman specified as the righteous people. But ultimately, the cure, ultimately, the weapon, ultimately, the solution is a single solution, a single weapon, a single tool, which is publicizing more Torah. Getting people to learn more Torah. That's the only solution. But there are people that haven't understood this yet. And in one of the places that we see today as a problem, in fact, it's not a new problem. Rav Elchonon Wasserman starts off by saying, "Ba'et ha'achrona mitnaeget." In recent times, there is a new commotion in the Haredi community to publicize Orthodox literature. What is this Orthodox literature? He's talking about publicizing all types of so-called Jewish magazines and newspapers has become a problem already at his time. Now, of course, the secular papers, the heretical papers, the filthy papers, it's a given that no one should ever look at those. Needless to say, a religious Jew. But here he's not talking about that. Here he's talking about those that are coming from the religious Jewish community have caused quite a commotion in his time. Needless to say today, where there's literally, it seems like a new Jewish magazine every other day. And he says that this is something we have to address. Now, of course, the average person that's subscribed to whatever Jewish magazine they're part of, I don't know any of the names, I don't subscribe to any of them. There was one that I was subscribed to years ago, but after I saw how they conduct their business in such a dishonest way, I realized if they're so dishonest, how could their reporting be have any honesty in it? But the point is, there are people who subscribe to it. There are people that are reading it. Is this a problem? And if it is it really the type of problem that could be included in this war of Amalek? I mean, is it that big of a problem? Well, let's see. Rav Elchonon Wasserman, first and foremost, tells us that part of fighting against Amalek is fighting against the status quo. The status quo of things that have gotten to the point where people don't think it's worth a fight because it's become a standard. It's become everyone is doing it, Rabbi. Everyone is doing it mentality. Even the Orthodox community is doing it. Even this is doing it. Even that is doing it. So when people say, listen, everyone is doing it, you're going to fight that? What, are you going to fight everybody? And Rav Elchonon Wasserman says there's a new commotion, a new wave of commotion by the Orthodox community to publish what they call Orthodox writings. Religious communities, magazines, newspapers, and so on. Now, again, not all magazines are the same, but the general topic is a problem. The general issue is a problem. Even one of the Chachamim, Tzadikim, that started a magazine or a newspaper for the religious community, the Haredi community, he himself said it's a problem. Who was this? The Admor MiGur. The Admor MiGur, years ago, decided that too many religious people are reading the newspapers, the filthy papers, full of heresy and so on. In order to get them out of that and into something that's censored, into something that is filtered, into something that's not going to have all this garbage, he said, alongside Rav Shach and other Chachamim, that the Haredi community will start a Jewish newspaper for the community. And he told his Hasidim to subscribe to this monthly paper, I think it was like something like $3 a month or a little less. And of course, his Hasidim followed. As time went by, one of the Hasidim, there was a serious Talmid Chacham. Of course, he subscribed just like the Rebbe asked. But one day his neighbor, that was also a Hasid, saw him get his mail, and in his mail was this paper, religious newspaper. He takes it out of the mailbox and then rips it to shreds and throws it in the garbage. What's this? Why are you throwing it out? Why are you ripping it up? The Admor said to subscribe. And the Chacham says to him, yes, I subscribe, just like the Rebbe said. But the Admor did not say to read it. It's bitul Torah. It's wasting time. When this story got to the Admor MiGur, he smiled and he said, he knows how to listen to me. He knows how to understand what my real intention is. Meaning, the Admor MiGur's intention was never to get people to go read these magazines and newspapers, but rather to have some type of support for this organization, this religious organization that's publicizing this newspaper, so the people that are anyway going to read these papers, at least they have something kosher to read. But never waste your time if instead of learning Torah, instead of doing mitzvot, instead of getting closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, waste your time reading these papers. But if somebody's already reading this garbage, at the very least they'll have a kosher magazine or newspaper available to them. So even the argument against it is by one of the people that had one of them, that started one of them. But the same token, in the world today, you don't necessarily have Gdolei Israel behind the vast majority of these so-called newspapers and magazines. You have people behind it. And sometimes these people claim to be Da'at Torah, they claim to be important rabbis, many times self-important. But nonetheless, the fact still remains that whether it's the Admor's newspaper or it's somebody else's magazine of today, if you're reading that instead of learning Torah, for sure it's a problem. And Rav Wasserman says this is not a new problem. This is a problem that already has existed at his time, and in fact, the mentality is also not new. The mentality is also not new. Many times people misunderstand what the Gdolim say, what the sages tell us. This was very common during the time of the coronavirus epidemic, where people misunderstood different instructions the Chachamim said. Some said to take the vaccine, some said not to take. And anytime somebody got one of the Chachamim to say to take the vaccine, they automatically interpreted that to mean as if the Chacham said that everyone in the world should take the vaccine. Little did they know that the Chacham was specifically talking to an individual case, and not talking to a wide audience of the world's population. But again, many times the Satan does whatever he can in order to get people to abandon Da'at Torah, to abandon the Gdolim, the sages of Am Yisrael that are leading us in the right path. And this, unfortunately, was the biggest trap of the Satan over the last several years that has worked, has been that. Getting people to abandon Da'at Torah, getting people to lose respect for Chachmei Yisrael, because they were on a different side of what the vaccine was or wasn't than what they think and what they know and what they investigated. At the end of the day, it was better off for people to get sick than to lose their Olam Haba by going against Gdolei Israel. But nonetheless, this is not the problem we're dealing with right now. Right now we're dealing with magazines. Magazines. Why is a magazine even a problem? Why is, even if it's a problem, why do you have to even deal with this problem? Isn't there bigger problems in the world? People sometimes will tell you. Aren't there bigger problems in the world than somebody's a Mechalel Shabbat? Isn't there a bigger problem than cash advance business ripping people off left and right? Isn't there a bigger problem than women wearing idolatry on their head and thinking it's a mitzvah of covering our hair? Isn't there a bigger problem? Why do you have to talk about all these things? What are you telling us? Just everything that's wrong with the world? Rabotai Karim, if we do not identify our problems and address them, they're only going to grow and get worse. At the very least, when you address them, people can make an educated decision. But when you don't have Chachamim telling people what they're supposed to do and what they are doing that's wrong in comparison to what they're doing that's right, then guess what? Not only are you not fulfilling your job as a leader, you're not even fulfilling your job as a Jew. Because Kol Yisrael HaRabim Zelazeh, all of Am Yisrael are responsible for each other. And Rav Elchonon Wasserman says there is no fight that's a small fight if you really look deep into it, because everything is part of the strategies of the Satan. The Satan looks for ways to get people to make sins, to get people to distance themselves away from Hashem. And you wouldn't even imagine how many ways the Satan looks for ways to get people to sin. Now, these magazines, Rabotai, are not necessarily just inherently in themselves the problem, but rather the strategy, the ideology behind all of it is what's the problem. You see, Rav Elchonon Wasserman is trying to tell us that these Orthodox newspapers of his time tried to fight the Enlightenment, the Reform movement, by providing all types of Jewish philosophers and different types of rabbis that are going to show the so-called Jewish perspective about different things. This is something that was there, but we see today it is quite a standard. In fact, the vast majority of Jewish media that's out there is in order to please the public, is in order to get more subscribers, to get more fans, to get more likes, to get more popularity. Very rarely do you actually find something that's transformative enough to get people to do tshuva. What you usually see online, whether it's from the organizations that host lectures from countless rabbis, or it's from individual rabbis that are posting their stuff, many times you see that the primary intention behind the message is to please the public. Rarely do you ever hear the speakers, the writers, actually telling people they must change, unless it's something that's outside of the Torah perspective. They'll try to get you to change your vote and vote for one politician versus another. They'll try to get you to hate somebody if they hate him. They'll try to get you to speak Lashon Hara about all types of people that you don't even know. They'll try to get you to, read up on the most recent gossip of what's happening somewhere in the world. They'll try to get you to think that you can somehow solve the problem with anti-Semitism by resharing one of their new posters that says never again. They try all types of things to appeal, to make you feel Jewish, even if you're not doing anything that's actually Jewish in your day-to-day life. This is standard. And this is part of the problem. Because Rav Elchonon Wasserman is telling us this whole thing started in the Orthodox community because some people came up with the idea that in order to fight the secular mentality, the reform mentality, the heretic mentality, we have to use their tools. If they're speaking about philosophy, then we should speak about philosophy, but from a Jewish perspective. If they're speaking about science, then we're going to speak about science from a Jewish perspective. If they like to talk about politics, and that's the most important thing, then we're going to talk about politics and tell you that our rabbi went to visit the president. Our rabbi went to such and such event where there was a bunch of other politicians. The rabbinical organization of XYZ has held a event where all types of politicians showed up and gave a speech as if they just won some type of an election. And we gave them a reward that they could put on their door that everyone knows means absolutely nothing. It was a complete bal tashchit on the wood and the metal that made it. But nonetheless, people have these events, people show up to them, people watch them. And the idea behind it was that this is going to be mikarev people. Why? Because people like politics, so if the rabbi speaks politics, if he tells us what he thinks about what's going on in the White House, if he tells us what he thinks about this bad politician, if he tells us what he thinks about this other country, then he's with the times. So I can watch him. And theoretically, I'll watch him instead of watching the news. Rav Elchonon Wasserman says, stop wasting your time. Stop wasting your time and your effort on such strategies. Because we already know that the Mesilat Yesharim already wrote 300 years ago. in chapter 5 that after Hashem created the Yetzer and he created Adam HaRishon, he decreed already that there is no cure, there is no medicine to fight against the evil inclination, to fight against the Satan, other than learning Torah. And anyone who comes and tells you, I have other ideas for fighting the Enlightenment, I have other ideas to fight the secular movement, I have other ideas to fight these heretical teachings, Rav Wasserman says the problem is that he is mistaken. And not only is he mistaken, but he's leading others astray with mistakes. In so many words, Rav Wasserman says all of these people that are preaching anything other than Torah, because they think that the new way of teaching, the new way of doing, the new this, the new strategies, not only are they mistaken, they become Machti HaRabim, they become those that cause the masses to sin. Hashem Elchonon. Now, we have to obviously look deeper into the words of the Ramchal. We have to look deeper into the words of the Ramchal and see what else did he say. In chapter 5, which is a chapter that's called Factors That Undermine Vigilance and How to Avoid Them. You know, there's 3 different things that cause a person to lose that fire, to lose that connection to Hashem. And one of them, says the Ramchal, is when a person is preoccupied with worldly matters. Because then he ends up where his thoughts become constricted by the pressures that are imposed upon them, and it becomes impossible for him to pay attention to his own actions. As the sages have taught us in Pirkei Avot, chapter 4, Mishnah number 12, limit your other involvement and be involved with Torah. Says Rabbi Chaim Moshe Lutzato, it's true, of course, that worldly involvement is necessary for one's livelihood. However, this shouldn't necessitate increasing one's involvement to such an extent that it prevents him from serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. To counter this, we have been commanded to designate specific times for Torah study. So far, the main issue with reading these magazines, watching the news, doing all types of things that are not learning Torah, is the fact that your mind's going to be on there. But Rav Wasserman says, no, he's not only mistaken with the strategy, he's leading people astray. So we have to dig deeper into the Ramchal's words to see what's going on here. And the Ramchal says, we previously mentioned that the most essential thing for attaining vigilance is Torah study. And we find a statement by Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair in the Gemara Masechet Avodah Zarah, page 20b, Torah brings one to vigilance. And without that vigilance, without the Torah, vigilance would be unattainable. This is also what the sages said in Pirkei Avot, chapter 2, Mishnah number 6, that an ignorant person can never become a pious one. The rationale behind this is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who created the evil inclination within man, also created the Torah as an antidote. As the sages have told us in the Gemara Masechet Kiddushin, page 30b, I have created the evil inclination and I have created the Torah as an antidote. Thus, it's obvious that if the Creator created this antidote solely for this disease, it's not possible under any circumstances for a person to be healed from this disease without this cure. The disease meaning the Yetzer, the evil inclination, the Satan. He who expects to be saved without this is mistaken. This is what Rav Elchonon Wasserman quoted. And he will perceive his mistake in the end, when he dies of his sins. For the evil inclination is truly powerful within man, and without man's awareness, it becomes progressively more powerful than him, until eventually it rules over him. Even if the person tries every manner of cure in the world, if he doesn't apply the antidote that was created for this, namely the Torah, as I have written, he will then only recognize and feel the worsening of his sickness when he dies of his sins and his soul perishes. In so many words, the Ramchal tells us all of the context necessary to understand that simply. Hashem created the Yetzer, and the cure for that Yetzer, the cure for that evil inclination that causes you to do bad things, that leads you astray, that does everything possible to create a distance between you and Hashem by encouraging you to commit immorality, to cheat on your husband, to cheat on your wife, to cheat on your customers, to steal, to do all types of things that the Torah says is forbidden. The only way to fight against this, Hashem himself says, is with learning Torah. That's it. There is no other way. So when a person insists that maybe I can do something else, maybe if I take this, maybe if I take that, maybe if I read this, maybe if I read that, Ramchal says, not only are you wasting your time and efforts, but in fact, you're causing your disease, your addiction to evil, your addiction to the Yetzer, in his direction, you're causing it to get worse and worse, to the point where you will stop feeling like there's anything wrong with what you're doing. And you're only going to realize it once it's too late. And then the Ramchal gives a pretty clear example, saying this is like the case of a sick person who consulted with doctors who diagnosed his sickness and prescribed him a specific medicine. And he, without any knowledge of medicine, ignored the prescription and instead took whatever medicine he considered appropriate. That patient will surely die. The same is true in our situation. No one can diagnose the malady of the evil inclination and its inherent power other than the Creator who has created it. And he has forewarned us that the only cure for it is the Torah. Can anyone expect to live if he puts this aside and substitutes it with anything else? The darkness of the material world will certainly overpower him step by step, yet he will not comprehend this until he finds himself entrenched in evil and so far removed from the truth that it will not even occur to him to pursue the truth. Here, the Ramchal tells us as much as literally anyone would ever require to understand. If you go to a doctor because you don't feel well, because you have a horrible stomach ache, because you have a horrible headache that doesn't go away, because there is pain in your life that you simply cannot live another moment with. And then the doctor says, oh, no problem. Yes, we know what this is. Here's the cure. You have to take this red pill. That's the cure that was developed for this. And you take it home. You decide you don't like red. You just don't like it. You don't like the color. It doesn't match your outfit. You don't think it's going to work. You decide, you know what? Let me go to the pharmacy and just get myself a bunch of other medicines. And you start getting a bunch of other medicines. He said, yeah, see, I like this one. This one is blue. Looks good. I think that's going to work. Oh, look, this pill is clear. Oh, that's probably natural. Because it's clear, so there's no colorings in it. It must be natural. So this one's definitely going to work. Oh, but see, that one, it's yellow. Maybe this is the one that's going to be even more effective because it's a little mix between the natural and chemicals. He said, you know what? Just to be sure, I'll take one of each. Now, if that patient dies no one is going to be surprised because he's an idiot that decided that he's going to take it based on his own perspective, disregarding his ignorance, disregarding his foolishness, disregarding the expertise. And that's what the Ramchal is saying. Such a person surely will die. And the same happens to anyone that thinks that they can do tshuva, that they can serve Hashem, that they can be religious without learning Torah. It's impossible for them to survive. Surely they will fall for the Satan's traps. Surely, even if they wear the so-called religious garment that's appropriate for their community, and they have the perfect white complexion that is necessary for the yeshiva, because the yeshiva is Ashkenazi, or they have the perfect bank account that's required in their Sephardi yeshiva, because that's required there, and they have the perfect, attire that's required, and attitude that's required in such and such because of this or because of that. But yet, while their complexion is perfect, and their bankroll is perfect, and even their demeanor when they communicate with people is perfect, they could still have a black heart full of sins and corruption in their behavior because they're not learning Torah. They could still be a cheater in business. They could still tell you, listen, we're going to agree that you're going to pay $10,000 for this event for food. We are a kosher caterer. We are honest. We have a reputation. Okay, fantastic. And on the day before the event, they tell you, listen, we made a mistake with the price. It's not $10,000. What do you mean? I only have one day. The event is tomorrow, meaning I don't even have time to get a second company. Yeah, well, listen, I understand that you may not like it, but it's actually $16,000. What? How could you make a 60% mistake? No, listen, you know what happens sometimes we have with this, and you don't even have the opportunity to change. You don't have an opportunity to debate anything. Why? Your event is tomorrow. And you know how often this corrupt type of business happens? You know, anyone that has had an event, whether it's a bat mitzvah, bar mitzvah, wedding, an event for whatever it is, if you had catering, if you had music, if you had any type of vendors, if you built a house, if you built an office, if you did any type of business, for sure you know exactly what I'm saying. Corruption has become so standard that people already are trying to find a way to live with it. And no one looks at themselves saying, wait, I'm doing the same corruption that I'm causing other people. And the guy tells you, yeah, it's 60% more. But guess what? That's usually not it. Because the next day, you have the event. Okay, you're going to pay the guy 60% more. You have no choice. People need to eat. You don't have time to get a replacement. And you can't cancel the event. But then after the event, the guy has the audacity and he comes to you, listen, so I also noticed that the tip for the waiters and the salary for the waiters and the ice cream, they weren't included. What do you mean? You already gave me a quote for $10,000 that you changed to $16,000. Yeah, but neither one of them included. You have to pay the waiters. How much do I have to pay them? $50? No. You have to pay them another 25% added to the tab. In so many words, you don't even know what to do, because what are you going to fight with the person? And if you decide that you don't want to, they hound you, they don't leave you, and literally, these stories are a dime a dozen. A dime a dozen. There's just simple corruption everywhere. You want to go get a car? You can't find a normal person. You can't find a normal person. One guy, another guy, and a third guy. All of them are reviewing the same files. All of them will give you different prices. And after you tell one of them, listen, but I got the same car for $50 less somewhere else. Okay, I can do that. Wait a minute. If you can do that, why didn't you already do that? Why didn't you already do that? And heaven forbid, if you have to get a vacation or you have to build a house, people just take money and leave. They just leave. They just literally leave with half the kitchen built. Hey, listen, I paid you already the money. I need you to finish the job. Yeah, I'm busy with another job. What do you mean you're busy with another job? I paid you the money. Yeah, I know how you feel. I would be frustrated too. What do you mean? We're not friends. You're not confiding in me here. You're the guy that's causing the bad. Yeah, I know. But listen, I gotta go. I gotta finish this job because I'm on a clock now. And this has become standard. People that want to do big remodeling jobs have to literally pray 5 times a day. 5 times a day just in hopes that the same contractors they started with will be the contractors they finished the job with. 9 out of 10 times it's not. Why? Corruption has become standard. Now, how is this the standard? Because it also is standard for people not to learn Torah. And a person that does not learn Torah has absolutely zero chance of being an ethical person, of being someone that fears Hashem, of being a person that's going in the way of Hashem. Zero chance. And people say, no, but I'm ethical. I don't cheat anybody. Yet. Or that you remember. Or that you got caught. Or that you consider cheating. Because many times people don't think that their cheating is cheating. They just think it's hustling. Or it's a honest mistake, even though it's honest every single day. Cheating, corruption, standard. In every business, literally everywhere. It's disgusting. And the reason for it is because someone convinced them or their parents or their grandparents or their great-grandparents somewhere along the line that you no longer need to learn Torah every day. You can be a good person without Torah. You could even be religious without Torah. And little did they know, they just murdered that person and his descendants, because anyone that follows those instructions becomes the corruption that we see in the world today, including, unfortunately, in the Jewish world. Now, Rabotai Karim, the Ramchal is telling us, anyone that thinks that they have a different strategy is not only mistaken, but they're so far away from the truth, they won't even realize that they're mistaken until it's already too late. Because the darkness of the material world will overpower this person step by step, to the point where he will not comprehend this until he finds himself entrenched in evil. You know what entrenched in evil is? Entrenched in evil means he wakes up with evil on his mind. How I'm going to steal today. How I'm going to cheat today. Who can I do something bad to? But he doesn't see it as bad. He sees it as hustling. Providing food for his family. Like as if he's a lion and he has to go hunt some zebra. He thinks he's doing good. She thinks she's doing good. Yes, but lady, you claim to be religious, but you post a bunch of non-religious people on your website, on your Instagram, on your Facebook. No, those are my customers. Yes, but you're leading people astray. Someone that's married to a woman looks at your customers, and guess what? He doesn't want to be married to his wife anymore. Why are you publishing the pictures of so many zonot on your website thinking that you're still a religious woman? You're causing people to leave their husband, to leave their wives, leave their husbands. No, I don't mean it that way. I just want to show people that this is my work. Your work? Why does your work have to cause people so much damage? Why? But people don't think about it this way. They think, what? I'm not the what? I didn't mean it. What did I do? How come? What happened to me? What happened to you? You know how much damage you cause? In the morning you woke up and you were thinking, how can I cheat my boss by making him think I showed up on time, but in reality, I'm going to go to the ball game, have a good time, have a couple of non-kosher hot dogs as long as nobody sees, And then I'll show up and at 11, 12 o'clock, but one of my friends is going to clock me in. So I'm going to cheat my boss of 3 hours. But yeah, listen, my boss is rich. He doesn't really care. I'm his best employee. He doesn't care that I'm going to cheat. Already in the morning he's thinking about a strategy of how he's going to cheat, but doesn't see this cheating. Already in the morning she's thinking of what can I wear that's going to make one of my colleagues give me a nice compliment. One of my colleagues, hey Rachel, you're looking good today. Oh really? Thanks. Wow. Yeah, your husband should be really happy he married you. Yeah, he is. In reality, she doesn't care about her husband for nothing. She wants this Steve, her colleague at work, to give her a compliment every day. She wants the doorman at the building to give her a compliment every day. So she wakes up in the morning thinking, what should I wear today to get some compliment from the supermarket clerk, from the doorman at the building, from a coworker? Somebody's going to tell me I'm pretty or I'm looking good. She cares less about her husband. She cares less about Hashem. She cares less about everything. But she says, no, but I'm modest. What? I'm modest. You're modest. If you're getting so much attention, I can assure you you're not modest. I can assure you you're not modest. And in fact, modesty does not even come just with clothing. Modesty is also behavior. So what ends up happening, Rabotai, when a person does not learn Torah, they become entrenched in evil without even realizing it. She doesn't realize that she is cheating on her husband. She doesn't realize that she is cheating on her customers. He doesn't realize that the same customers that help him build his company, he is now sticking it to them, hurting them, the same people that helped him, build him. He is actually causing them harm. And this has become standard from the bottom to the top. Just in the last 24 hours, 48 hours, one of the biggest companies in the financial world, PayPal, was exposed as a fraud for one of the products they have called Honey. It's an extension you put on your computer that supposedly gets you discounts. In reality, not only does it not get you discounts, it causes a lot of problems, cheats its own people that are promoting it. Long story short, this is a multi-billion-dollar company. Just for the sake of seeing what the value of this, just the PayPal company is worth literally over $100 billion. What do you need to cheat anybody for? You're worth over $100 billion. You have tens of billions of dollars coming in every year without doing anything. The technology is archaic and it's not even any good, but yet they make a ton of money because people have become accustomed to it. And yet, they still find a reason to cheat. And guess what? You think PayPal is the only one? All of them. Everyone cheats. You just haven't found out about everyone yet. But every other month you find some type of things. Why? When someone lives a life without learning Torah, then that means that they have good that's determined by people. And good that's determined by people will change from person to person. Whereby one person that determines good is to give your customers the proper amount of change for what they deserve, while another person will determine that giving them the proper amount of change is not good because they don't need it, because you don't think they need it, because if they can afford your product, then they must have extra money, so you need it more than they do. So his definition of good is different than the first guy's definition of good. And his definition of good, that it's okay to commit adultery as long as no one catches you. It's okay to steal as long as no one catches you. And what ends up happening, Abutai, the mentality of people become corrupt, the behavior become corrupt, and the laws become corrupt. The actual laws themselves become corrupt. Corruption becomes standard. And this is not just in the whole wide world. This is even within the Jewish world that made the mistake of thinking that they can fight the Satan, they can fight their own evil inclination without learning Torah. And what ends up happening is that a person gets entrenched in evil to the extent where he does not even see it as a problem. He cheats in his business regularly, thinking that this is the way to do business. He cheats on his wife regularly. Why? He says, this is what keeps me married. Wait, cheating on her keeps you married? What about not cheating? Why wouldn't you stay married? And of course it happens the other way. And that's why the Ramchal says, if a person is involved in Torah study, he'll become familiar with its ways, meaning with the evil inclinations' ways, as well as with the Torah's ways. He'll become familiar with the positive commandments. He'll also become familiar with the prohibitions. And ultimately this will reawaken within him the motivation that will move him in the right direction. In so many words, the Ramchal says the Torah in itself, if you just read it, it's not enough. You have to apply. But you can't apply what is not constantly visible in the frontal part of your mind. If you learned it when you were yeshiva bachur and you're now in your 30s, it's not enough. Why? Because when you learned it, it stayed in the front of your mind. So if you encountered the problem, if you encountered the danger, when you learned it initially, you had the weapons to fight it. But if you haven't learned this issue for 10, 20, 30 years already, then guess what? If you encounter that problem, you're not going to have the same tools. And that's why learning Torah is something that never ends. Learning Torah is something that never ends. But then we have to go further into the slight difference between what Rav Elchonon Wasserman said versus what the Ramchal said. Where on one end, both have said that someone that thinks that there's a different solution, a different cure to fight against secularism, heresy, and all of the Satan's different strategies. Anyone that thinks that it's not Torah, they think they have something else, is mistaken. They both said that they're mistaken. Of course, Torah is the only solution. But Rav Elchonon Wasserman upped the ante. He says, not only is such a person that's telling you that you can learn something else and still be good, not only is he mistaken, but he's causing other people to mistake. Meaning he has become a Machti HaRabim. He becomes a person that leads the public astray. Why? You see, Rabbi Chaim Moshe Luzzatto was over 300 years ago. Rav Elchonon Wasserman about 80. So meaning that there's about a quarter of a millennia difference between them. What happened during that time? Rabbi Chaim explains is that you see the drastic difference between them, their times, those couple of 100 years, and even more so since the last 80 years, is that the number of hearts faithful to Torah has decreased while the arrogance has increased. And as one of Gdolei Israel said, the more regular people, non-scholars, the more regular people lose their emunat chachamim, their faith in the Jewish sages and what they say, the more the complications in their questions become. Where it becomes now small people with big problems. Why is this the case? Why is this the case? And even more so, if they lost their faith in the Jewish sages, what do they have anything to be arrogant about? See, what ends up happening is exactly what the Gemara says in Masechet Bava Metzia, page 85. Istera gina, kish kish karya. Istera belagina, kish kish karya. Which is a small coin makes a whole lot of noise. Small coin in a pot makes a whole lot of noise. If you had, let's say, some type of pot and it was full of coins and you shook it, it wouldn't make that much noise. If it was full to the top, it wouldn't make any noise at all. But if you had one small little coin, one isa is a tiny little coin, and you put it in that same pot and you shook the pot, the noise will be deafening. The noise will become deafening. And that's exactly what the Chachamim are saying. When a small-minded person wants people to think that he is big-minded, really he is smart, but in reality he doesn't know Torah. He doesn't know Dat Torah. But he wants people to think that he knows. He wants people to think that he knows more than the great rabbis. What does he do? He makes a lot of noise. He makes a lot of noise. And therefore what ends up happening, these small people tell people all types of lies and foolish solutions to problems. Instead of giving them what Da'at Torah is, they tell them what their own Da'at is. Even if that person means well, surely it will have a bad destination. Why? Because anytime you go against the tradition of what HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself told us to go, surely you're going against the right path. And what ended up happening over the last few hundred years is that the less people learn Torah, the less respect they have for it. And the less respect they have for it, the less respect they have for the Torah scholars that actually know what Hashem wants from you. And what ends up happening as a result of that is that when people do have questions, since there's less great Torah scholars in the world, since less people are learning as what they should have, that means that when people have questions, they end up going to people that are not great Torah scholars, but rather they're just average people that sometimes even know less than you do. But they want you to think they know a lot, so they make a lot of noise. How do they make a lot of noise? I don't mean they make a lot of noise by yelling, but they make a lot of noise by telling you things that sound revolutionary. What does it mean? There are people that call themselves not only religious, but they call themselves rabbis. That now, today, I'm not telling you in the past, today, right now, as we speak, are recommending for people that are having all types of problems, whether it's problems mentally, spiritually, financially, whatever it is. They're telling them, your solution is psychedelic drugs, illegal drugs that have killed people, illegal drugs that have caused people damage that is unrecoverable, cause people to lose their mind completely, illegal drugs that are forbidden by the Torah. But you have people that call themselves rabbis. Baruch Hashem, there's not many, but there's enough to cause noise, that are recommending for the masses. They even have YouTube videos about this. Like, they're not ashamed about this at all. There's no shame here. There's no secrecy here. I'm sure there's a bunch of secrecy what's going on as far as how they get this stuff and all the corruption and all the illegal drug dealers that they befriend and whatever else happens behind closed doors. But there are literally people that are so-called Jewish leaders that are recommending drugs to people, to Jewish people, to religious people, to secular people, to anybody, because they believe this will solve their problem. Once you come to my center and you meditate and you take this illegal drug that could literally kill you under medical supervision, then you could encounter something and it could free you, and it could this you, and it could that you. Rabotai Karim, there's even a degenerate porn addict, disgusting excuse of a human being that is not only promoting this stuff, he has a whole center where people come to this place. I met some of these people. They come to me, they say, yeah, I went to the center. I don't know, it's kind of weird, taking drugs and stuff. And like, what? You took drugs? You're a religious Jew. Why are you taking drugs? I don't know, I was depressed. He told me that, I could just let loose a little bit. Well, no, did you let loose? No, not really, actually. No, nothing loose, nothing. Actually, I got sick and got depressed after it. I actually thought about going back again. Maybe the second time is going to work. Oh, so now you already are mentally addicted, if not partially physically addicted. Rabotai, this is being recommended in the open, without any secrecy, as far as no shame. They're recommending this. They're making money off of this. People think this is, actually believe this is even a solution. You know why? Because the ones that are promoting it are these little people that cause a lot of noise. They cause a lot of noise, whether it's what they say, the ideas they preach, the way they preach them, their type of presentation. It's just a simply show business. One big corruption. No da'at Torah whatsoever. They tell you now, I'm quoting all of the great Kabbalists in history. And this, and they make themselves seem to be either mysterious or, all types of, literally it's just one disgusting, pathetic lie that anyone with clear eyes can see in 2 seconds. But when you're dealing with problems, when you're dealing with suffering, especially, people that are dealing with all types of emotional pain, you can't see clearly. So you could easily become vulnerable to these disgusting people that are using the religion as a front to their drug dealings, as a front to their corruption, as a front to their evil. Now, this is unfortunately not the only scam that's out there. There are also people that are getting people to say, you know what? Go to the mikveh twice a day. That's going to solve your problems. Yeah? Where is that written in the book? It's written. Don't worry. Rabbi this one, Rabbi Nachman said it, Rabbi this one. It's written. Baal Shem Tov said it. He did? Where? I don't know exactly, but it says it. Just go to the mikveh. Well, do I need to learn Torah? No, you don't have time for that. You go to the mikveh. It's good. That's going to solve your problems. Or you know what? Go to the kever of the tzaddik. Leave your wife. Go to Uman. Go to Poland. Go to Tveria. Go to this place. Go there, and that's going to solve your problems. Okay, but what about learning Torah? Yeah, if you have time for that. But just go spend a few days there, a few months there. Spend your life savings there. Spend. Go. That's going to solve your problems. Now again, certainly there is certain value to going to the gravesite of a tzaddik and praying there. But that's not what they're recommending. They are changing the whole picture by literally telling people that if you go to this tzaddik, he's going to solve all your problems. If you go and do this certain sgula, this is going to solve all your problems. If you take drugs, this is going to solve all your problems. Without even addressing their problems, without even telling the person, by the way, you know what the solution for your problems is? Stop cheating on your wife. Stop cheating on your customers. Stop violating Shabbat. Stop wasting seed. That's the problem. You can just stop. The tzaddik is not going to get you to stop wasting seed. The tzaddik is not going to get you to stop cheating on your wife. You have to stop. You have to stop. The tzaddik, why? You pray to him till you're blue in the face. What, he's going to stop you from going and leaving your family in the middle of the night to go commit all types of sins and go to casinos? The tzaddik's going to do that for you? No. You have to do that. And that's the problem. When the con men that are using religion find a victim that's weak-minded, they do whatever they can to make them believe that they have an easy solution. And because that weak-minded person has no connection to someone that has Da'at Torah, does not even value Da'at Torah to know that there's a difference between getting some Joe Schmo to tell him something versus one of the great rabbis to tell him something. He doesn't understand the difference. So what ends up happening is, he just goes to whoever makes the most amount of noise. He goes to whoever makes the most amount of noise. He goes to whoever has the best marketing. And the one that has the fastest solution to his problems. At least theoretically. And the truth is, Rabotai Karim, that all of these sgulot, the mikvehs, or the thing that's become very common today, where they tell you go into the park, go into the trees, and go meditate there for hours. Meditate there for hours. Why? Go learn Torah. No. Rabbi Nachman said to go meditate. Rabbi Nachman didn't say go meditate in some park for hours. He said to go learn Torah. You want to go and meditate, you want to pray to Hashem, no problem. But to make that the foundation of your servitude to Hashem, it's a mistake. It's a mistake. Because the truth is that anyone can do tshuva. Anyone can do tshuva, and in fact, the Chachamim teach that you, no matter where you are right now, can have even more power than the great tzaddikim. How so? Shlomo HaMelech says in Kohelet, chapter 9, verse number 4, "For he who is attached to the living has hope. A live dog is better than a dead lion." So what is Shlomo HaMelech telling us here? What is he giving us? The National Geographic's lesson? A live dog is better than a dead lion? Davot Rabbi Natan. In chapter 1, section 12, Bar 8 to 12, says what Shlomo HaMelech is referring to is a living dog is good, meaning that he's better off than a dead lion, because the living dog is referring to a rasha, wicked person, who is still alive. And because he's still alive, he's in a better position to do mitzvot than even the greatest lion, but that's no longer here, such as Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, I wish we could ever even be the dust under their feet. But the reality is they left the world already. They're in the world of truth. They're in a Gan Eden. They can't do any more mitzvot. So even though they're the lions, they're the tzaddikim, they are not in a position to do mitzvot. But you, even if you are wicked, you have this one superpower in your hand, so long as you're still alive. So when somebody tells you that you need some type of psychedelic drug, or you need some marijuana, or you need some type of, forest experience in order for you to connect to Hashem, in order for you to learn Torah, it's a mistake. You can do tshuva. You can fix all of your problems by learning Torah. Because the more Torah that you learn, the more you're going to have tools and strength to overcome the evil inclination that is causing you to make mistakes, that are causing you the problems. The mistakes that caused your marriage to break. The mistakes that caused your kids to hate you. The mistakes that caused you to get fired, or to lose your company, or to cheat people out of money, or to borrow money that you don't know how you can even pay it back. These types of mistakes are as a result of ignorance in the Torah, ignorance in what the instructions is from the Creator. And the more a person becomes familiar of the instruction set of the Creator, the more they know how to behave in real life. Now, if a person thinks the Rabbi Nachman of Breslov or the Lubavitcher Rebbe is going to save them, it's not only a mistake, but it's a mistake that could literally be so big that a person's only going to realize it when it's too late. Because what ends up happening is that if a person falls for that path where they think that some tzaddik, even if it's Rabbi Nachman of Breslov or the Lubavitcher Rebbe or the Baal Shem Tov or Rabbi Akiva or Moshe Rabbeinu, doesn't make a difference. If you think they're going to save you and you could just continue behaving and misbehaving, then you have replaced real Judaism with another version of Christianity, where they think that they could do whatever they want and Yoshke is going to save them. Without learning Torah, no one can save you. Without learning Torah, Rabotai, there's no heaven. Not in this world or the next. Now, of course, without learning Torah, a person's not going to know how to do mitzvot, not going to know how to keep Shabbat, not going to want to keep Shabbat. So, of course, there's no heaven after this world. But the truth is that when a person has not learned Torah, there's also no heaven in this world, because his life will be full and entrenched with sins and corruption. And this type of behavior also attracts certain type of environment, certain types of people, certain types of lifestyle. And one of the tools of the Satan to convince people to go to the con men pretending to be rabbis that are selling people psychedelics, con men that pretend to be resourceful and helpful and looking for your interest, but in reality all they care about is your money. One of the reasons that people fall for this, for these fake Kabbalists, fake gurus, fake, is that they preach an easy and quick solution. And that's the worst. If they told you, listen, you have problems with your wife. Yeah, it's because, number one, you cheated on her. Number two, you don't respect her. Number three, you lied to her. Number four, you're stingy. You never buy her flowers. You never buy her a gift. Anytime you give her money for groceries, you make it seem as if you're removing one of your lungs, as if she's the only one that's going to eat with the money. The reason why your kids don't want to talk to you is because every time they are in your presence, all you do is yell at them and insult them. The reason why your customers are constantly looking for ways to leave and get out of the contracts is because you're not honest with them. You keep cheating them. The reason why your partner in business left is because you stole from the company. The reason why you're constantly angry on the road is because you don't drive like a normal human being. And yet you expect everyone to. Meaning the problems you have are a result of your own actions. And if you learn Torah, then that means you'll learn morals. You'll learn respect. You'll learn how to treat a wife. You'll learn how to treat your husband. You'll learn how to treat your children. You'll learn how to treat your customers. You'll know what's allowed, what's forbidden. You'll know. But this takes time. And when a person doesn't want something that takes time, and even more so when you tell them, listen, you have to change your behavior. That means it's not only going to take time, it's going to take sacrifice to change your behavior, your mannerisms, your way of doing business. He doesn't want it. He wants a quick solution. So what does he do? He goes to one of the con men. It's going to give him a pill and fix his problems. He goes to one of the con men that's going to give him some book that has the answers to everything. Even if you don't read it, just make sure you pay cash. Not the price of the book, the price of the fake mikubal. Because people already have fallen into the hands of the Satan by having this mentality that everything needs to be quick. Everything needs to be easy. And therefore they jump to forbidden places because they were fooled to believe that whatever is being offered to them, that is the so-called secret cure. This is actually also something that even people that are usually on the right path, that's also how the Satan gets them off the path. Why? Because they start learning, they start keeping Shabbat, they start doing the things they're supposed to, but when they compare themselves to the rabbis they hear so many stories about, Rav Kanievsky, Rav Ovadia, all these different tzaddikim, they're like, listen, they're so far ahead that I have to catch up. So what do? Listen, I need to know all this stuff. I need to know Kabbalah. I need to know the mystical things. I need to know all of these different things. Yeah, but you're not ready for it. No, I'm ready for it. And what do they end up doing? They end up studying things they're not allowed to study. Sometimes they study things that are simply above their pay grade. And sometimes they literally study books that are forbidden to be studied because they're books of heretics. But one of their friends told them, no, listen, this book of Enoch, it has a lot of truth in it. What truth? This was manipulated by the Christians. You know, it's called a book of the Minim. It's an outside book. Rabbi Akiva says somebody that reads a book, that book or books like it, has no share of the world to come. Why? Because they've mixed so many lies within the truth that you cannot tell the difference. So it does not have any tradition. We're forbidden from reading such a book. But the person that doesn't know this, what does he do? No, I'm going to read that book. I'm going to read the book of creation. I'm going to read all type. Why don't you read Gemara? No, but I read some, but I want something more. What do you mean? How do you know that? How do you assume even that you know enough in order to get there? How do you even assume that you know what you think you know? What ends up happening, the mentality of, I want a faster solution, I want a faster achievement, I want to, right now, fools both the people that are already on the wrong path and unfortunately some of the people that are on the right path. And the common denominator between the two of them is simple. They have no respect for Da'at Torah. They don't have respect for Da'at Torah. So even if a big rabbi says something like, yeah, but he's not my rabbi. Yeah, but he's a Gadol BeIsrael. Yeah, he's a Gadol, but he's just not my Gadol. Who's your Gadol? I haven't figured that one out yet. Or it's someone that's already passed away. Okay, but do you know all of his books? Do you know all of his writings? Do you know how to apply it to this law? No, not yet. Okay, so in so many words, you have someone you can't talk to, someone you can't hear anything from, and someone that even if he has the answers, you don't even know them because you haven't studied, but you're assuming that that's the right direction for you. Why? Because that direction is more convenient for the Satan to put traps in. Now, Rav Wasserman is saying that this type of mentality where people are preaching these fast solutions, people are competing with the so-called secular world, so they're starting Jewish podcasts to talk about politics, Jewish podcasts to talk about all types of nonsensical things, including heresy, including things that are against the Torah. Why? Because they think that this is going to be Mekarev people. This is going to get people to get closer to Judaism, to keep Shabbat. So allowing him to drive to my house on Shabbat back and forth and come into Kiddush for a few years, that's going to get him to feel like he's really Jewish. These strategies are all based on a mentality that there is a different solution for the Yetzer. And that is not only wrong, but it's literally one of the tools of the Satan to turn a person that's already on a good path into someone that becomes an enemy of God. Now, the Orthodox magazines that Rav Wasserman is referring to says, what you don't realize, he says, is that these magazines, not only is it bitul Torah, where you're wasting your time reading all types of opinions that are either not relevant to your life, not necessary for your life, or just outright against the purpose of your life. But not only that, not only is it a waste of time, but what a lot of people don't realize is that many times these magazines themselves are full of Yetzer, full of gossip, full of Lashon Hara, full of heresy. And that's what Rav Wasserman is saying here. These Orthodox magazines themselves need protection from the Yetzer themselves. And how will you make up all of the time that you wasted and the effort that you wasted reading these magazines and newspapers? How will you make up for all of that bitul Torah? In fact, these magazines have gates wide open for the Yetzer with opinions of heretics that are not Da'at Torah. And as Rav Ephraim says, instead of Da'at Torah, you get Da'at of the newspaper, Da'at of the magazine. They decide who is good and who is bad. They decide who is right and who is wrong. The writer, the journalist, that has a title of Rabbi before his name, that has a title of whatever, president before his name. And people waste their time, their resources, their money, reading this stuff, thinking, no, well, it's a Jewish magazine. You're making a mistake. Why? Because instead of that, you could be reading the weekly parasha. You could read the commentary. You could read the Midrash. You could read the Ramban. You could read the Or Chaim. You could read Gemara. You could read Mishnah. You could read literally millions of books that are real Jewish writings. But instead you're reading this. Because this mentality is not just in the magazine. It's a mentality of those that are behind it. The magazine is just one of the products. We're going to come out with a magazine because the magazine is going to compete with the, secular magazines, the non-Jewish magazines. So instead of you looking at the secular newspaper, you're going to look at the Jewish newspaper. Instead of looking at the one that has forbidden pictures in it, we're going to have other pictures in it. In reality, when people see some of the pictures in the non-Jewish magazines, certainly they hurt the neshamot, but they also hurt their neshamot sometimes when they look at the Jewish newspapers because they see so much shopping in every single page that literally their lust for money becomes as much as the lust for the other stuff. But all of this stands on the mentality that you need to do all of these things in order to get people closer to Judaism, in order to get people closer to the community. And that's a mistake. Even though there are certain benefits to how things have become modernized, whether it be medicine or the way food is, and then the supply of food and the way you're able to do all types of businesses, certainly there are benefits. But these benefits also come at a price. And a person that does not have Torah, does not learn Torah, is not going to know where the price becomes too expensive. One of the issues is magazines. But Rav Wasserman doesn't leave it just with the magazines. He doesn't leave it just with the magazines. Magazines is just a tool. Says this, Jewish writings that are opening the gates to the Yetzer, that have opinions that are against Da'at Torah, even if the mistakes that they're making that are against Da'at Torah are not intentional, they still cause a problem because wasting time on them causes people to know less Torah. And in fact, those that publicize these things, these organizations or individuals, may mean well. They want more people to read, connect. He says they don't realize that them adjusting things from our tradition in order to bring a new solution, an innovative solution to the Yetzer of the generation is not only a mistake, but on them it is written what the Kuzari king said. In the Kuzari, Sefer Kuzari, where your intentions are good and welcomed, but your actions are not. There are big organizations that host all types of speakers because their intention is that each speaker is going to bring an audience, attract an audience. And therefore, their target is always to bring someone that's popular, someone that has new ideas, but who has time to go over every single word, to know if even this guy has dat Torah, to know if even if this person knows what he's doing. And what ends up happening is that some of these organizations that host different speakers do not realize they literally have many different heretics on their platform. People that are preaching things that are outright against Hashem, outright against the Torah, saying things that you don't need a Rabbi Reuven to tell you that it's wrong. You could just simply look at the halacha. But they're publicizing them, they're pushing them, they're promoting them, they're putting them on their papers. Rabotai, how did this happen? Simple. When you're trying to constantly use a different tool than what the tradition is, which means that you're not looking for someone that teaches the traditional Torah and what Gdolei Israel have taught. You're looking for people that have an audience, people that have a new twist, people have a new strategy, something new. As the Chazon Ish says, Chadash asur min Torah. Anything that's new is forbidden. And what ends up happening is that you think that you are helping people. You think that you are growing your audience. In reality, all you're doing is growing Amalek's power. And this is one of the extraordinary issues that is happening everywhere. This desire to bring everything to people the way they want it, how they want it, even if what they want is wrong. Instead of leading people, they are led by people. And that's why the Mishnah in Masechet Sotah says that the generation before Mashiach, it's going to be the face of the generation is like the face of a dog, where people are going to be leading the leaders. Instead of the leader leading the people, it's going to be the people leading the leaders. They're telling them where to go. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is known for a lot of different things. But one of the stories that perhaps people don't know, at least not as well, is one that was in the Avot Rabbi Natan in the Nuscha Aleph in the Perek 41, Perek Mem Aleph, where Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai learned something himself. We learn from it, but also puts things into a certain perspective. Many times a person thinks that, listen, maybe I won't learn Torah, but I'll do a lot of good things. Not realizing that you cannot be good without having an instruction set of how to be good, which is the Torah. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai went to visit the sick. This is a mitzvah, visiting the sick. He went to a place, a hospital, where there's sick people. And one of the people that was there was a Rasha that was in an enormous amount of pain, had a sickness in the stomach, and this wicked person was cursing Hashem nonstop. So when Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai heard this, he said, empty one, instead of using your mouth to ask for mercy, you are cursing the one that could provide you mercy and provide you health. Instead of this Rasha responding in a way where, oh, okay, yeah, you're right, maybe I shouldn't curse God because I need him, the Rasha instead says, curses Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. It says, may your God take all of the sickness that I have and put it on you. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai took this and understood that this was a message from Hashem. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, it's good that Hashem allowed this guy to curse me. It's good that Hashem did that. I deserve it. Why does Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai say that he deserves to be cursed? He went, he did a mitzvah, he went to visit the sick, he rebuked the person. He's a tzaddik. How could you say that you deserve this? Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai himself says, it's good that Hashem allowed this person to curse me. I deserve it. Why? Because I left learning Torah to go visit the sick. Meaning, even though visiting the sick is a mitzvah, there's nothing greater than learning Torah. There's nothing greater. Why? Because the Torah is the direct connection to Hashem. And even though the Torah also requires you to fulfill certain mitzvot, a person needs to know when to do and whether they should be the one that does it. Because not necessarily every mitzvah is for you. So here we see that even Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, yes, visiting the sick is good, I'm going to go do it. But after he realized that he could have been studying Torah instead of visiting the sick, instead of going to a different country and spending their hours and hours and hours traveling just to one day eventually get to go pray at some gravesite of a tzaddik, they could have been learning Torah this whole time. Instead of going to the mikveh and pretty much half your day you're wet because you're going so many times, you could have been learning Torah. Instead of going to some park and pretending like you're meditating and your soul is elevated to the upper heavens, you could have been learning Torah. You could have been learning Torah. Instead of taking drugs and poisoning yourself, you could have been learning Torah. And if you did anything else other than learning Torah, not only did you make a mistake, but you fell into the trap of thinking that there is another solution to your problems, that there's another cure to fighting the Yetzer. You fell into that problem. And that's why the people that think this, Rav Wasserman calls them Machti HaRabim, he calls them missionaries. Why? By you thinking that there's a different solution than teaching real authentic Torah, and you think that you need to teach philosophy, you think you need to teach politics, you think you need to teach everything except the Torah, you think you need to provide drugs, you think you need to provide psychedelics, you think you need to provide all types of strange things that are not acceptable, not only are you wrong, and your solution will not work, and will not help you or the people, but in fact, you'll cause damage to yourself and to others. And therefore, Rav Wasserman says, you become a missionary, a Machti HaRabim, causing the masses to sin. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not stay in debt to anyone. Everyone gets what they deserve, on the good side or the bad side. And a story that puts all of these points together, where you see the value of Da'at Torah, the precision of how Hashem rewards and punishes, is a story I just heard. It was publicized recently. Unbelievable story. About 50 years ago, there was a guy named Yaakov. And this Yaakov was a Holocaust survivor that, as a kid in the Holocaust, he saw the Nazis, Yimach Shimon v'zichram, murder his parents in front of him. Now this Yaakov got to Eretz Yisrael, built a family, connected to Hashem, and was beloved in the community, but was struggling financially. One day, on the way to synagogue, he gets a call from the owner of his apartment. It says, listen, you have 2 weeks to evict the house. I'm tired of your delays in paying the rent and everything. That's it. 2 weeks, or I'm throwing all your stuff out. Of course, this Yaakov gets to the synagogue and he starts crying to Hashem. When the community, the leaders of the community saw this tzaddik, he's crying, they asked him, Yaakov, what happened? Yaakov. He says, no, nothing. Tell us, please. And he tells them his troubles of how he has 2 weeks to leave this house. He's got a wife and 5 kids. He has no idea where to go. He has no money to go anywhere. He has no money to stay. And he's crying to Hashem to help him. And the Kila says, we'll figure something out. We're going to pray for you. Okay. He leaves the shul. He's on his way back home. And as he's driving, all of a sudden, his car starts slipping on the road because there was either a gas or an oil spill on the road by a truck ahead of him. And the entire road became so slippery that he lost control of his car. His car spun around, lost complete control, went onto the sidewalk, hitting 2 85-year-old people and killing both of them on the spot. Of course, Yaakov was destroyed over this. And for the next month and a half, he refused to leave the house. Refused to leave the house. Refused to go to synagogue. And it got to a point where the community was very worried about him. He wouldn't come to shul. He wouldn't pray. He wouldn't talk to anyone. And all he kept repeating is that he murdered 2 85-year-old people and he doesn't deserve to live. Tzaddikim are very, very sensitive to the briot, to other people. So even if he didn't do it on purpose, obviously this is an accident. After the police found out what happening, they realized this is an accident that happened as a result of the trucking company that had the spill. It's not his fault, but still, he said, even if it's not my fault, why did it come to my hand? Why did Hashem use me to kill these people? And this all happened in Netanya, by the way, where I was born. After a month and a half of this, the community leaders became so worried, they wanted to get da'at Torah of what to do, something about prayer, something. So they took the picture of Yaakov and also the two people that died. And they went to Rav Kanievsky. They got to Rav Kanievsky and they said, Kvod Rav, we have an issue with becoming pikuach nefesh. He's not eating, he's not drinking, he's not communicating, he's not leaving his house. He's a tzaddik. And they showed Rav Kanievsky his picture. And Rav Kanievsky says, such a tzaddik, why should he have any problems with the house? The community has to buy him a house. So the leaders of the community says, sure, BeEzrat HaShem, we'll do it, Kvod Rav. We'll do it. We'll buy him a house, but no problem. But how do we get him out of his house? He doesn't want to live because he killed people, these two people. And then they show him the two people that he killed. And immediately, Rav Kanievsky's face got serious and he pushed away the picture and said, Amalek. Now, no one dared ask what Rav Kanievsky meant. There's just sometimes you don't ask any questions, even though you don't have an answer and you have no idea what just happened. Why did Rav Kanievsky push the picture away, call these people Amalek? Maybe they didn't keep Shabbat. Maybe this, but nobody knows. They died. People don't usually like to talk bad things about people that died. Anyway, Rabotai, they went ahead and got some people together to raise some money and buy Yaakov a house. So he doesn't have to deal with this landlord anymore and getting kicked out of a house. And after another month and a half passed, Yaakov still has not left his house. But one day, there's a knock on the door. His tzadikah wife opens the door. She's also very, very sad of what's happening. But in front of her is a man dressed in a business suit, saying to her, can I see Yaakov, please? She says, sure. She brings him to the room. Yaakov is sitting there looking at the ground. And this guy opens up the windows, brings some light in. He goes, hey, Yaakov. First off, I want to tell you that your blessing from Rav Kanievsky came true. Okay? And second, I'm a realtor that works for the state. And a few people from your community bought you a house. So I want to show it to you. Because in order to give you possession, I have to present it to you first. So of course, Yaakov is very surprised. Did not expect this at all. Quickly, he gets dressed and he goes with this realtor. They get to the house. Everything looks good from the outside. They enter the house. And as they enter the house, he starts looking around. And all of a sudden in the living room, he sees the picture on the wall. Those two people, those two 85-year-old couple that he murdered, that he killed, that he removed from this world. And he starts hysterical crying, losing complete control, fell. Immediately the realtor picks him up, brings him some water. What happened? What happened? You see those people? I killed them. I don't deserve to live. What? Not only did I kill them, but now I'm going to take their stuff. How could I be in such a horrible situation? And the realtor says to him, listen, Yaakov. You see, I work for the government. as a realtor. But before I hand over anything, I have to investigate things. Now, this couple didn't have any kids. And that's why, when they died, the house became the property of the state. But the state doesn't want to keep houses. They want to get rid of them. So when your friends came together and wanted to buy the houses, it was great for the state. They get the money instead of the house. Much better for them. But as soon as I got the job that I have to go, give you this house, I wanted to investigate what's in the house. I started looking into drawers, everything. And in the drawers, I found pictures of these people when they were younger. And they're wearing Nazi uniforms. I sent this to Yad Vashem, the organization that has all of the detailed information of the Holocaust. And Yad Vashem confirmed that these two people were war criminals that escaped Nazi Germany. They were working in the Treblinka concentration camps. And out of all places in the world, they decided to flee Germany, flee Treblinka, flee Europe, and go and hide from the Jews inside Israel. And no one knew where they were until they died. So you killed 2 Nazis. Yaakov was obviously amazed. But it was nothing in comparison to the second the realtor gave him the picture to show him what he showed Yad Vashem. And when he showed him the picture, Yaakov started hysterical crying and understood how the divine hand works. These 2 85-year-olds, in their younger picture, were people that Yaakov knew. He knew them because they were the 2 people that murdered his parents right in front of him when he was a kid. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not stay in debt to anyone. There's reward and there's punishment. There's the truth and then there's falsehood. When a person thinks that anything other than the Holy Torah is going to get you to a place of good, to a place of truth, you're not only mistaken, but you're causing other people to go in the wrong path as well. The Da'at Torah of Rav Kanievsky to go give the community the push to go buy him a house was not only to help a tzaddik, but it was also as a messenger of Hashem to close this account. And clearly his holy eyes saw Amalek and said, get this Amalek out of here. While the people didn't understand because they don't have the same holy eyes as Rav Kanievsky, as Gdolei Israel. But at the very least, they had emunat chachamim, to know when to ask, to know when not to ask. When you have emunat chachamim, when you have da'at Torah, then going in a different direction than what our tradition has been for over 3,000 years is no longer an option. But when a person does not respect the chachamim, when a person does not value da'at Torah, when a person is so arrogant that they think that they are da'at Torah, even though they are the little coin making a lot of noise inside the pot, then what ends up happening is, Rabotai, is that they get to such a horrible place, so entrenched in sins, that they don't even realize that they're sinning or leading people to sin. And instead of helping people with their resources and knowledge, they end up hurting people by selling them new strategies, like drugs, like psychedelics, like all types of fake ways to make a shortcut to what they think is a good place. But there is no good if it's not the Torah. And the Torah has a very, very simple instruction set. And we can all follow it. BeEzrat HaShem, this fight is clearly worth it. Because although many people will say, do we really need to deal with this? Do you really need to fight this? When you hear about the rest of the context, the rest of what it connects to, and what it turns into, you realize that, yes, even this is critical enough for Rav Elchonon Wasserman and Gdolei Israel to bring to our attention and know that this is one of the necessary bits of information that we must have in order to win the war of Amalek. And BeEzrat HaShem, we listen to them. Anyone that wants to support and help the organization, especially now that the cyclical year the Gregorian calendar is complete, if you are located in the United States and you want to have the tax benefits, you could donate on our website, BeEzratHashem.org. Also, those that have a cryptocurrency and want to donate it there, certainly you have an opportunity to use those profits you've made on cryptocurrency and stocks and all the different things that HaKadosh Baruch Hu provided you, or just simply income, to help us publicize Torah. The world stands on 3 pillars: Torah, Avodah, and Chesed. Supporting BeEzrat HaShem with your cryptocurrency or your stocks is not just something that you're doing for any one particular person, but it's something that you're doing for all of Klal Yisrael. Because with those resources, we can spread more truth, we can fight the ignorance, we can spread Torah values, and we can simply bring light to the world, the light of Torah. Support, help, and make the money and cryptocurrency and whatever other resources you have that Hashem blessed you with, make them part of eternity and not just something part of a temporary bank account that is here today, gone tomorrow. Thank you very much. May Hashem bless everyone. Atzlacha Rabba, and BeEzrat HaShem, we're going to learn again next time. Kol Tuv.
השם שיזכה לבוא ולהשתתף בקמפיין הגדול והקדוש הזה, לבוא ולעזור למשפחות נזקקות, לאברכים, לחמם את הלבבות. אתם יודעים מה זה אישה אלמנה עם יתומים, שלא רק שאין לה מה לאכול, מגיע החורף הקר, אין לה במה לחמם את הילדים שלה הקטנים. בעזרת השם, אנחנו קיבלנו על עצמנו בראשות הרב ירון, לנסות לחמם את הלבבות, לנסות להאיר את החשיכה באותם לבבות כאובים. הכסף הולך ישר לארגון, זה לא עובר לכספים של אף אחד אחר. בעזרת השם, יתרום תנורי חורף, יתרום ביגוד אם צריך, סלי מזון אם צריך, ויהיה רצון מי שיזכה להיות שותף בדבר הזה.